Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the This Is the Music Meets Podcast, an independent podcast show that's dedicated to introducing you to rising indie and alternative artists from across the UK and Ireland. If you're new to the podcast, then please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any brand new episodes, and feel free to leave a comment as it really does help us beat the algorithms, but more importantly, the bands that we interview to be discovered. It's now time for episode 125, and I'm delighted to be joined by one of the most exciting emerging artists from Wales in the Sonnet. On today's episode, we're going to chat about the band's brand new single Backstabbing, which you'll be able to hear at the end of this podcast, their forthcoming headline show at the Green Rooms, plans for 2025, and much more. So it is a very warm welcome to Dan and Henry from the Sonnet. Lads, thank you very much for coming on to the This Is the Music Meets podcast. How are you both doing today?
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm doing really well, personally, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad myself either. Yeah, great day.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, not too bad. As we were just saying there, I've been up to my neck in it in work the last couple of days this week. But yeah, we're getting there. We're still surviving.
Good.
Sounds great.
Great, awesome.
So you're obviously joining this in Wales, and I'm guessing where you are, obviously I can see a piano there in the background, and there is a guitar just over the back of Henry there, for those that are looking up on YouTube. So I'm guessing this is where all the magic happens for the Sonnet then, right?
You bet. Yeah, definitely. This is the man cave where all of our sort of songs find the seed, and we sort of all of the creative processes and working on the songs. This is our
manifest.
This is
where it happens.
Our precious little spot. This is. If I think, oh Dan, I want to work on that song, we run in here and run through our ideas and stuff and lyrics. But yeah, this is where the magic happens, Mark.
Lovely, great stuff. So obviously, as I said there in the intro, we've obviously got quite a lot to talk about, and again, and I'm guessing you must be in potentially in rehearsals. I'm guessing for your headline show at the Green Rooms on Friday. We're recording this on a Wednesday evening. But before we come on to that, and obviously all the other stuff that have happened, in the last sort of couple of weeks or so with the band, let's just go right back to the sort of the very beginning. What are your earliest musical memories?
Oh, great question, Dan.
I got a funny one. I remember my first music video that I ever watched was a song "To" by Blair.
Oh, wow!
I must have watched that on an old computer bolted into the wall, and I must have been about 6 years old and 2 minutes long, and it's lasted all my life. I remember it to this day. So, yeah,
it's a banger, isn't it?
It's a good musical memory. Mine's not quite as definitive as that, actually. I mean, I remember all of the sort of the records that my parents had in our old Ford Galaxy, and they would be on repeat on the old stereo system. They had in there six disc thing with the Stone Roses and the Smiths and Oasis, Dolly Parton, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, all of that stuff. So quite an eclectic sort of range of music,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's as early as mine goes back. I mean, I think I said it not so long ago that I sort of heard all that music when I was that sort of age, and then sort of forgot about it for a few years, and then heard one of them. I think it was William. It was Really Nothing by the Smiths, and it was just like sparked a nostalgia. It's like, wow, I remember that from when I was really young, and then that sparked a rediscovery. Then,
yeah, sure. And what about like your first ever gig? Can you remember it? Do you look back on it now and go, yeah, do you know what? That was a really cool one to go to, or do you sort of think, oh no, I'm cringing a little bit. I don't really want to tell anybody about it.
Good question. It was Dan. It was the Oxford Totterdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Bristol. That was our first ever gig that we did.
Yeah, it was a three-man. It was a three-man that night, Mark. We had no bassist, but we got on with it. I mean, just a drummer and me and Dan. Just off the train station in Bristol, a little pub, called the Totterdown. There were about 10 or 15 guests in there, in the audience. Very, very small venue, but it was perfect for us as our first gig. I mean, there was a helpful sound guy. Oh, blimey, what was his name, Dan? Chris, yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah. That was. It took me a while to think of that one, but yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, whenever people ask me about our first gig, I sort of say we were really lucky as a band in that it was a success and it was the first time really everything clicked. I mean, music,
That was this time last year. That was 1st November 2023. Funny enough.
Yeah. Right. Wow. So kind of a belated happy anniversary.
Yes.
I should probably say. And in terms of sort of, maybe like a gig that you were in the audience for, can you remember your first ever gig that you ever went to?
I remember my first gig. I went to see a band called, I'm not sure if you know them, like they're not indie, but have you heard of the Dead South?
No, it's not.
Dead South.
It's not ringing a bell.
No, they're like more of a country band, and they came down to the Tram Shed in Cardiff. But then I suppose that wasn't really my taste. I mean, I just went along with my parents. The first sort of music that the gig I went to was a Smiths tribute act.
Nice.
So that was in Stroud up in Gloucester.
Yeah.
And that was amazing, seeing all of my favourite music being played live. So that was the sort of the first proper gig I went to. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few gigs in my time. I remember seeing a Stone Roses tribute as well down in Cardiff. So that was quite a few years ago, and that really got me back into them. Like Henry said, I definitely felt that it kind of disappeared listening to that music for early teens, and it came back to us. And that being said, me and Henry have known each other since we were like 3, so we've grown up together. So
that's right. Yeah.
We've had quite similar upbringings, and that's why we
taste. That's right.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I have to echo really what you were both saying there about you sort of get that sort of the indie or sort of rock and roll band in sort of into a little bit as a kid, and then you do divert off a bit a little bit. I mean, I'm sort of not giving too much away about how old I am, but sort of the late.
Well, I was going to ask Mark, what about you? What was your first or your most memorable gig? I bet you've had some, because we're only young, me and Dan. I mean, you about to have some really, really good names in your repertoire. Like,
well, I sort of as my first proper gig as such, I saw Oasis at Wembley Stadium. So that was in 2000.
Wow.
It was the Familiar to Millions night. Obviously, the night they put out on DVD and all of that. So
was it first night or second night? Mark?
Yeah, that was the first night. So
lucky. It wasn't she's this, she's that, the sofa and all that.
That's the one. Yeah. I did what because that was I'm trying. I think it was on Sky One. I think bizarrely, I still don't understand why they showed it live, but they had it, and I remember coming back. I'd been out somewhere in the day, and coming back and just thinking, like, really excited for it, and all the build up and all of that, and then just thinking, oh, what's going on here? Like, generally, I was 16 or whatever at the time.
Yeah, right.
I think I bunked off the last day of school as well to go and watch
really?
on Friday, and that was the first one for me, and
magic.
I think probably like a lot of people, once you see that. That type of band with that many people in the audience, all pretty much just as one, it just stays with you. And then for me, that was it. I was gone.
Yeah,
it was just that.
You're a bit of a captivating one, then,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, very.
Well, I went to see Liam Gallagher, obviously before that he announced this news about reforming. Down in Cardiff, and he was on his Definitely Maybe tour, and I went with the drummer out of our band, and Aidan, just name drop Aidan Williams, our drummer as well. So he managed to get tickets, and we went down to Cardiff, and obviously it wasn't Noel and stuff, but I think Bonehead was there alongside Liam, and they played obviously their greatest songs with like all the stuff off Definitely Maybe, so like Supersonic and all that. So it's great.
Yeah, and I've managed to see him as well on that same tour, obviously up here in London, and thought it was great. Have you got a ticket for the reunion shows?
Oh man,
I
we
queued
tried
6 hours
and
and I got timed out right at the end. It was £400. So
yeah,
that's what our drummer paid mine.
yeah, he paid a lot,
450 £450.
paid a lot of money. I mean, what about you, Mike? Do you have any success?
I did.
Oh, great.
Yeah, again, same thing. What you were just saying there for your drummer, that just sat there for hours upon hours getting it, and I
Yeah.
sort of hummed and hawed a little bit. Couldn't really, not sure I could really justify
Justify it, yeah.
paying it, and then in the end, I thought, you know what, this is going to be it. Then they're not going to do
Well,
anything else after that. And
you are the guys who most deserve it, Mark. In our opinions, you witnessed the original and stuff.
yeah,
I
well,
know my dad
yeah,
sort of saw them when they were right at the end, so like 2008 sort of thing. But that's not really prime Oasis in my opinion. For some people, their music was still good by then, but the peak of their youth had sort of just drifted by then.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think, yeah, definitely at the end, I think this tour started off okay, and then I think there's all that stuff that was going on behind the scenes and that. But
Yeah.
and again, I can understand, you saying, oh, that deserve it, and thank you very much for that.
No, you do, yeah.
For me, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter going, oh, I was there in '94 and all that, and I deserve a ticket, and I don't agree with that. I think if you like a band, you like them.
Yeah.
Music's universal for me. So,
That's right.
if you get a ticket, go. If you don't, tough luck. I know that sounds really awful.
Yeah. No, definitely, that's fine.
So sorry, just coming back onto the Sonnet then. So how did the band start, and sort of what makes the dynamic of the band like work so well?
Well, great question, Mark, actually. In terms of how we sort of came about, obviously knew Dan through school. At the end of primary school, he went to a different high school than me, so went to different high schools. But then in after 2 or 3 years, Dan moved school back to my high school. So like, oh bloody hell, I remember you, Dan, from primary school, and best mate. And he came back, and that was great. And then it wasn't long after that I realised he was into music and he could play the guitar, and we'd sort of mess about in music lessons in school. And then it wasn't too long until the fated first invitation up to my house for Dan, and he brought his old Squire Fender Telecaster up. Stratocaster. My bad.
Gotta get it right.
He got me there, yeah.
I'll tell you myself. So,
yeah. All right, yeah. But he sort of crept into the music room, and I've this piano, which you see is a little bit out of tune, but we managed to make things work. But it took us a fair while to sort of find material, and for me to find my footing
took about 3 years
as singing and melody is concerned. I mean, Dan was already established in terms of he could play the guitar well, he could improvise, he knew riffs, but I was really sort of stuck really at the beginning myself. I couldn't dream up melodies like I can now. That took a long time. But yeah, I mean, in terms of how the dynamics of the band functions now, it's not too different than it was a year ago. So in the creative process of making a song, in terms of rehearsal, and yeah, I mean, when you think about it, from where we've come, you'd think there would be a lot of development and difference in how you do it, but that hasn't been the case for us. I mean, I can mirror our technique now to really obviously the product's become better through practice, but the way we do it hasn't changed really.
Yeah, sure. And also as well then, in terms of the band's name, obviously the Sonnet.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming that it's named after obviously the verve with that song, or am I completely barking up the wrong tree here?
Well, I tell you what, Mark, that's a common assumption. It's a very common assumption. And I tell you what, I'd love it. I'd love that from the bottom of my heart. I'd love it to be the meaning. But we started as we were originally called the Marshall Sonnet. I can't remember really where that came about. I mean, I remember being in here and one of the old amps has obviously it's got Marshall written on it. I thought, oh, that's quite cool. And we happened to have a book of sonnets open on the table, and sort of a biblical moment struck me. Thought Marshall sonnet. That was pretty cool. But then, as sort of gigs went on, it became more and more difficult to spell it out and explain it to people what we were. Martian, Marstic, Sonic, Sonic. Like, oh god, the spellings and misspellings and
I tell you, one headline we had the Mars shell, and seashells on it. So, and that was the point of no return. That was the end.
After that, we thought we'll cut it out of the name, and we were the Sonnet then. But it does have it, although it sounds like it doesn't really have any connection to the verve. Although when they see me up there with the long brown hair in sort of Ashcroft style, they think, oh, it's the verve, the sonnet. Like we know of another band called the Rolling People who presumably have taken their name from that.
I would, probably wrongly assumed. Obviously, as I've already have done with them as well. But would love to actually find out from them, and they are a top band as well. Obviously, kind of then more of the musical side of things then with the sonnet. Obviously, your new single, Backstabbing, has been out now for a couple of days. From the time of obviously when we're recording this podcast. So for you guys then, what has the reaction been like to it?
Oh, it's been fabulous. It's been really good. I was talking to Dan not so long ago. Dan, you said something like, I was really pleased with this release.
I think this release, obviously we'll touch upon our debut release later, the debut EP, but as you know, practice makes perfect, and the way we've gone about releasing this single Backstabbing has just been, and the way it's gone down with the people and our audience has been really good.
Really good.
So, really pleased with this.
Good comments and stuff, good feedback.
Interviews with people like yourself,
interviews
Mark,
with yourself. We had one with the radio down at Newport City Radio the other day.
Nice.
Just that little bit of interest as sort of
inspiring.
It has, because people have been sort of, to be honest, our debut EP was received really quite well. So then obviously there was anticipation for our next one, but it took us a little bit of a while to reorganize and sort of clarify how we were going to go about getting new material, what song it was going to be, how we would release it, record it, produce it, release it, but I think, to answer your question, Luke, we are really Mark.
Sorry, Luke was the last presenter we had.
Sorry, Mark, my bad. Do you know there was another guy at the station called Mark as well? His brain fried. I'm so sorry.
I've been called a lot worse, believe you me.
I've sort of been in university since 7 o'clock this morning, so my brain is a little bit fried like yours. Mark. But there you go. Just to answer your question, I mean, we are quite happy, and the reception has been very good in our opinion, the new stuff.
Yeah, sure. And in terms of, is there sort of, in this particular track, is there any message that you're trying to get across? In like when you look, when you're looking up from the lyrical aspects of it.
Great question. I mean, I'm not sure exactly, because Dan obviously had a lot of hand in how the music sounded. I'm not sure what his music or his attitude there. He's usually quite mystical in that department. But in terms of the lyrics that I sort of put to it, backstabbing. So it's a little bit, obviously it tells the story of the song. The lyrics is a little bit of a narrative that goes on, a bit of like a nasty relationship and stuff. But yeah, I've always thought whenever I heard that word, I thought, wow, that's it sort of sticks in mind. It's so vivid, because outside of the metaphor, to picture, stabbing someone in the back and thinking, that's what you've done by sending me down the road. I thought, wow, that's a really cool word to use.
Yes.
And it ended up becoming the subject of the song and the name. So if you look at the lyrics, it's about a relationship, just purely fictional, about two people who obviously start out of start out as friends, and then one of them turns on the other, and all the dynamics of that is sort of explained through the song. And it's sort of there's an element in the song where the guy who's done it to the other guy, the backstabber, is trying to drown out all the sound and noise and guilt of the person he's done it to. So, but yeah, I mean, I think if you take them words and listen to the song, it becomes a lot clearer.
Cool. Well, as I said in the intro, there, for people hanging around, hopefully they'll be hanging around to the end of the podcast, and then you'll be able to hear. You'll obviously be able to hear the track, and it's going to be in the episode bio as well. The link to your Spotify page to hear that as well. So do go and check that out, because it is really a fantastic track, and many congratulations.
Thank you
on it. So we're just going to rewind a couple of months now for our next question. Obviously, you boys were just mentioning it a little bit there as well. Obviously, back in June, it was sort of your first release really as a band. It was your self-titled EP. You've got 3 tracks on it, but I think I'm correct in saying that it wasn't quite meant to be an EP release. Have I got that right, or have I got that, or is that?
Well, you're not far off, Mark, because for some reason at the start, when we weren't really, as a young band, we weren't really familiar with what was the tried and tested route. So originally we wanted our scope as a young band was a little bit, obviously, as it usually is, a little bit ambitious, and we thought, all right, we're going to release an album, a full album of 12 well-recorded songs. We're like, no, no, it's not. So the nature of that project was drastically reeled in, and it turned into, instead of like a debut single, we sort of thought, well, we don't want the long format. We don't want one single. We thought, just hit the middle and go for 3. And like you say, that ended up being, what we've done in the end.
And I think that EP kind of spanned the scope of not all the stuff that we're capable, but quite a variety.
It is of the 3 songs. I agree with it. And the 3 songs, despite the fact they're on the same album, same band, they're quite. And they're not really similar in any regard, apart from, there's one happy song, one quite hard rock, one's more anthemic. But yeah, I mean, that was the debut. And I think it did really capture what we were like as a band at the time, how we sounded. It's just frozen it in time. It's going to be such a good reference point to look back to in the future.
Yeah, sure. That's actually going to be the next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It leads us on really nicely. To be fair, it's obviously quite difficult because obviously you've obviously two releases, across 4 songs. I think that's the right way around of saying it. And obviously it is obviously very, very early days for you as a band, and obviously you just mentioned there. You've got an anthemic track, a bit more of a heavier song, within there. But do you guys know at this moment in time sort of the direction that you want your sound to go in, or are you still sort of trying to figure that out?
I think
it's a great question, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it is, because we listen to bands like the Smiths, and you listen to the Stone Roses, listen to Oasis, all bands, American bands, British bands, and even if a song is a bit different, you can always tell that the essence of the band and who is by, and I think that's what we really strive for.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Like that.
I think the perfect example of that is the Chili Peppers. So although the evolution of the band is really quite drastic from album to album, you can always really tell when it's them. So we want to retain quite a lot of diversity in our music, but we want it to be that when you listen to it in a few years' time, you can just go, oh, that's a song by the Sonnet,
Exactly.
As different as it may sound.
Yeah. And I think it's because we put melody at the essence of all the tracks. So that's a paramount, a paramount.
It's the priority. It's the priority, Mark, and I think that does reflect why our songs can sound so different.
Yeah.
Because we just, whenever there is a good melody, no matter how it sounds, as long as it's a good melody, we'll just chase that to the end, and that can end up forking in quite some different directions, you know.
Yeah, sure. Do you know what? I'm absolutely loving that response, to be fair, to have that uniqueness. You know, personally, obviously, absolutely loving the amount of fantastic new music out there, but it is obviously difficult as well to be heard, because there are a lot of bands that do sound a little bit similar. So
Quite similar,
that attitude of, do you know what, we might have a song that maybe a little bit more indie sounding, you know, a bit more anthemic, but we've also got this in our locker, which in actual fact is going to make us stand out a little bit more, you know, from bands that are out there.
And I think the trajectory of that, Mark, is going to be that across our early releases as a band, you will see more of a holistic trend, and then the more advanced I think we get as a band, the more jolting the listing in our albums will be. So you go from song to song. I think the same thing happened to like the Smiths by the time they released Strange Ways, Here We Come. And you just go from track to track on that, and it's like the songs are in no way related, but you listen to their early stuff and it's just like bang, bang, bang. It's quite a consistency to it. I think we won't be far away from that. I don't want to set our sights too big, but I think it might go that
way.
Exactly.
There's no right or wrong way, is there? You know, you see some of the best albums, you can tell definitely, maybe you can, even if even from Oasis songs, you can tell that's a song that definitely, maybe even if you didn't know it, do you know what I mean? So I think, but then you can hear another album, you know, like you said, Strange Ways, Here We Come, and the songs can be quite drastically different. So we're not closed to anything, and we're open to.
We do want to retain
a sort of sound,
a uniqueness that, like you say, Mark, that you can listen to a fair bit of music in the modern day, especially in the indie scene, that tends to blend together. We do want to be a little bit of a thorn in the side of that.
A little bit, just
that's, you know, I haven't quite heard that before, whether it be a weird voice or a weird guitar part or weird drumming, or just an aspect of the track that sticks out from the rest.
And I think that's just because we're influenced by so many artists,
different bands,
and even individually speaking, but as a whole, we appreciate so much music and we listen to so much different music.
And there's a dedication in it, Dan, isn't there? Which is like quite different, I mean, from guys who you speak to who aren't really into their music, who listen for leisure. You know, if me and Dan think, right, I'm sort of sick of the period where we're in as a band, we want to sort of move, we'll literally pick a really well-known band with a good name and think, right, let's go from album to album and really listen and appreciate the music.
That's what you're doing.
And let that sort of bleed into how we
and that
into our consciousness. You know?
That's absolutely, really, if you're talking about our songwriting process, that's what happens. You know, we listen to, you know, me and Henry, I'll say to him, I'll just give him a text, listen to this album. Because I've been listening, you know, for the past week or two, and subconsciously I'll make a riff, or make a song, or make a chord progression, melody, whatever, that, you know, you can kind of see that, you know, that's not obviously is unique to us, but you can see the influence that we've been listening to. So, and you know, it helps with the communication of talking to him. He'll think, you know, Dan likes that. He's been listening to that album. I'll try and think of, you know, take inspiration of what worked on that album or that song, and let's make something our own. Let's make it something good, that's new, that's different, and let it shine through.
No, sure. I'm absolutely loving that. That is great to hear that you know that you're not gonna just sort of and I don't mean this disrespectfully to any of the other bands. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but just not pigeonhole yourself into one.
We're quite conscious of that. We're quite conscious of that. Look, if we make 3 or 4 songs and think, bloody hell, we're starting to go down quite a train track here, you just need a wake up call, you know. You're right.
No, sure. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot with this next question, because it is difficult probably just to pick one song. But obviously, there's, for those that are listening, there's obviously 4 tracks up on the Sonnet's Spotify so far. But have you boys got a favourite track
Backstabbing.
Yeah, I'd agree
Good
with
answer.
that. Backstabbing, yeah. I'll just say this, Matt. In terms of out of the 4 songs, depending on what you want, if you want to feel happy, listen to Psychedelic Baby. If you want a bit of a punchy roller coaster that throws you up and down, listen to Backstabbing. If you want sort of more of a Led Zeppelin sort of heavier distortion type song, listen to Carbine Gunfire. And if you want like a mystical sort of
Ambient.
type song, listen to A Call to Arms. Yeah.
Brilliant. There you go. Covered all the tracks. So,
Don't try to cover all
the listeners, there you go. Make your own minds up. Yeah, look, they are.
But it is Backstabbing.
Yes, it is. That is the best one.
That is the only song on there. Let's just make that totally clear for anyone listening. So, okay then. So let's talk live music. Obviously, as I said earlier on, we're recording this podcast on a Wednesday evening. So this Friday, the 8th of November, you've got a headline show at the Green Rooms down there in Wales. So firstly, how excited are you at the prospect of playing live? And what can people expect from your show?
Well, I would say, it's a good question what to expect. I mean, we're quite lucky in terms of being able to headline the Green Rooms. I mean, from what we see, it's an amazing venue. You know, we're always really quite happy as a band when we know we're going somewhere with a proper stage and an in-house sound system and a drum kit and a bass rig and thing. You know, right? We're actually playing somewhere that's decent. You know, and in terms of what to expect, I mean, I'll tell you the main thing to expect, and this is quite a good point to probably make about the music, is if you listen to our material, even on as it is recorded in the studio digitally, it does really convey a live essence.
Right.
It really does. It sounds like, you know, you listen to it, you think, wow, I'm listening to the band as they are playing it here. And I think I've spoken to a few people who are struck by how much of a likeness we can get live to our recorded stuff.
Right.
And I think mainly that's testament both to how good we are live and how live the recording sound. So it comes from both sides.
The production style and everything. So
that's what to expect. I mean, come along, you'll get a really quite an interesting, energetic show. Obviously playing the songs that you hear online, and they don't change in any regard. And we do have a lot of unreleased material that we obviously play at gigs. There's obviously 10, 12 more songs that we play that are yet to be recorded.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Great stuff. Well, it sounds like you're obviously, you know, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are.
It sounds like it's going to be a great night for everybody coming down, and this podcast is probably going to come out after the gig, but I know as well the tickets are extremely cheap as well, only £5 as well. So hopefully you've got 3 bands for you and 2 others on the bill. So I mean, you're not going to get too much better value for money.
Exactly, that's brilliant. Yeah, I shouldn't have said it better myself.
Good luck with it, and looking forward to seeing the a few clips and all of that sort of stuff.
The content. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly on your socials. But just sort of like as well, just moving away from that a little bit, the live, or maybe not actually, because this might be the answer. But has there been like a specific moment when you knew that you wanted to go and pursue music, like sort of seriously, and if so, what was that moment, or is it still to come?
I think because we're best mates, we've known each other for so long that we've just allowed music to grow in our lives, and we've never really, I never ever said to Henry once, you know what, we're gonna in 5 years' time, this is what we're gonna put a band together, we're gonna have all this. We just take it day by day, gig by gig, and just see where it takes us and have fun along that journey. And
it was really quite natural in that respect. Mark, what? Sorry, can you just say that question again, Mark?
I did waffle it on a little bit.
No, it's my bad. I mean, like, my memory lately is shocking. So.
Has there been like a specific moment where you knew that that music
We wanted to do
was
it
an avenue that
seriously.
you wanted to go and do. Yeah.
For me, I'm not sure if this is the same case for Dan, but the buzz we got off the first gig.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
after that, I thought just how it sounded, and we got a rough and ready iPhone video of it, and I can always go back to that moment. I just thought when we got up there, obviously my anxiety from that point has gone really quite far down. It doesn't bother me going out in front of a fair few people now, but it was quite a moving one at first. And since then, you know, the kick I sort of got off that, and people applauding original music that they hadn't heard before, I just thought, you know, I really want this to go somewhere.
Yeah, sure. No, lovely. So on every This Is the Music Meets podcast, we ask all of our guests a series of questions that are designed to be sort of a little bit more light-hearted, but also help listeners find a little bit more about you, the artist. So the first question is, what artists on the sort of underground new music scene have you boys been checking out over the last sort of 12 months or so?
Good question. I'll take it first, and I'll say like my 2 or 3, and then do yours. But in terms of sort of upcoming bands, the 3 I'd say, there's guys from Wales called Subterranea.
Yeah, love those boys.
They supported us at the Louisiana not so long ago, and since then they've exploded, and it was no wonder their songs are great as well, and it was really good to meet them. So there's one. There's another band, a really obscure one, that we were on the support bill with down in Le Pub in Newport, which is one of the better venues, called Junior Bill. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they're more of a ska influence rather than indie band.
Nice.
But in terms of a third that's up and coming, that sort of tests my...
To be honest, Mark, I'd go with them choices that Henry said.
Yeah. I think the Rogues. The Rogues are also... I'm sort of naming...
Yeah, they're good boys, like the Rogues.
But, the Seratones.
Yeah,
they're good.
Loving their sound at the minute. You know, they're the band that, as new as they are, when I listen to them, it's like, wow, that's really close to how I want to sound, you know?
Yeah.
In terms of the tone and the voice and that high pitched sort of Ian Brown-esque voice.
Yeah, they got quite a few good tunes. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but
yeah. So the Seratones,
they've got songs better than this.
They released. But you've got the Rogues, Subterranea, Seratones, Junior Bill. How many more can I sort of think of, Dan?
It's so difficult because there's so much music out there, man.
Is it Marseille?
Marseille,
they're
sort of band. They're very sort of psychedelic, their style. But great.
If it is Don't Cry, then that's a song in there. So that's good.
Yeah, we like all of that stuff. But that's our recommendations for sort of other guys in the same boat as ourselves.
Yeah, and great to see as well. We're mentioning, sort of 2 or 3 bands as well from Wales as well, because I think personally that Wales has got a really good thriving music scene. Probably goes a little bit unnoticed at times, but in my view, I think there's the bands there that you've mentioned, and obviously yourselves as well, that there is a very good scene coming up there, and long may that continue. So the next question for you is, you're allowed to see one final song from your favourite artist in your favourite venue. Who are you choosing?
So, you're allowed to sing one.
Oh, you're allowed to, so one final song from your favourite artist in your favourite venue.
Ooh, mine would be "Love Spreads" by the Stone Roses, and it would be at Old Trafford.
I couldn't beat that if I tried, Mark. Honestly, like Love Spreads at Old Trafford with John Squire playing that. Honestly, that'd be a dream come true.
Or you could also say, if I had, you said one, but I think if I could hear "London" by the Smiths in London in Brixton Academy, that'd blow my mind as well.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Loving that. Yeah. Good. Two brilliant song choices there. So if the Sonnet could play one of your songs for the rest of your career, but you had to play it in a different style each time, so it could be a country style, it could be jazz or whatever musical style you can think of, what song would it be, and what style
I
would
know
you
what
play the
I'm
song
saying.
in?
All right.
I think the reason I'm saying this is because you have opened my eyes there, Mark, that backstabbing can be played in a lot of ways. You can jazz it up, you could play it acoustic and stuff, but that would be the one we choose if it had to change every time.
Nice.
What about you, Dan?
We've got quite a few unreleased ones that would definitely, I think, obviously, because we have so many different styles, we'd definitely be able to change it up and each time. But I think I've got a song called Hotline of My Life.
Hotline of My Life.
It's quite an early song for the Sonnet, and written probably 2-3 years ago. And I think you could do, quite a lot of stuff, quite a lot of different stuff with that. Ooh. It does change up that song. So yeah,
we'll have to record that and release that so you know what we're talking about.
Well, I look forward to seeing what musical style you go with.
Yeah. It will be mainly indie, but
it'll be Delta Blues.
Brilliant, great stuff. So, if the Sonnet had to compete in a talent show, but you couldn't perform music, what hidden talent would you showcase?
Hidden talent. I haven't got a single.
I mean, we can play football and stuff, but I suppose that's not really a talent show type thing. I mean, what could I do? I'd be a comedian. I could sort of rattle off a few jokes that would get people going, I think. What about you, Dan?
I would do flipping jumping off something. Jump off
cartwheels.
I'd jump off the top of the stage, right? Have you seen like Eddie Vedder? Right, I'll throw the mic cord, throw it up on the banister, climb up there, and then I'll rappel down it and sing Backstabbing on the way down.
Brilliant, loving that. That's great, and good little bit of promo in there as well.
Thank you.
So, who's the biggest prankster in the band, and what's their greatest prank so far?
All right, I'm gonna have to say option here. Our bassist is my brother, Mark.
Right.
He's a very tall lad. Oshin, he's younger than me. He's only just turning 18 now, and he's 6'8". But he's the prankster of the band. I mean, I can remember recording our debut EP, and the drums were sort of in an isolated room, and our drummer was in there. And my brother
Aidan was there.
Sorry, I've got to get out of the habit of saying that. But Oshin goes in there, and let's just say he breaks wind, and then he leaves, and he locks the drum door, and Aidan suffers the consequences. That was a good prank. Yeah.
That's his. He's good at doing that. He has a tendency.
Brilliant, loving that. So, if you had to choose a new band name based on the last thing that you ate, what would it be?
Mine would be the chicken burgers.
It'd be the hot dogs.
The hot dogs. You had a hot dog,
yeah,
did you? I had a chicken burger in Bristol not so long ago, but that's what we'd be called.
Brilliant, great stuff. So, just sort of, looking ahead into the future, what plans have the Sonnet got? Sort of really looking ahead now, I guess, really into 2025.
2025, we've got a few really good gigs penned in, Mark, but we won't swear to them just yet because they're still being organised. But there's big things in
festivals
the making.
As well. So that's
festivals, gigs, and gigs that are a lot like higher quality maybe than the ones that we've been doing consistently so far. So there's that to look forward to. In terms of other plans, just releasing more music, getting tighter and tighter as we rehearse, and just doing as much as we can for the people who like what we do.
Yeah.
Brilliant, great stuff. Well, it sounds like you've got some really, really exciting plans coming up in the future, and obviously once all the timing's right and all that to have them announced and that, looking forward to seeing exactly what they are. But look, Dan and Henry, unfortunately that is the end of the This Is the Music Meets podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story of the Sonnet so far. You've been brilliant guest, and I've had a really good laugh
That's
with you
great.
both.
We're glad.
But before I do let you go, can you just let the This Is the Music listeners know the social media platforms that they can find the Sonnet on?
Yeah, so you've got our individual accounts, so Henry, Aidan, Dan, and Osh. But the main outlet, it's the Sonnet UK, and it's
on Instagram.
on Instagram, yeah, and it's a big Roman helmet. You can't miss it. And all of our stuff, all the information you need to know is on there in terms of gigs, links to music.
Yeah.
It's all sort of posted on
all
there.
over social media, TikTok,
Yeah.
YouTube.
But yeah, that's our handle. That's our main handle. Obviously, we've got YouTube and Spotify. So anything you want to listen to our stuff on, just get it up.
It's there.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Look, we'll put those links in the episode bio,
Great.
as well with a link to the new single Backstabbing as well. Fellas, thank you very much for coming on.
Been a pleasure.
So much, really nice,
and
yeah.
obviously giving up your Wednesday evening, especially as well with your gig coming up as well on Friday. So I really, really appreciate it. Best of luck with it. And obviously continued success as well with the new single Backstabbing. And as I said there before, really looking forward to seeing what else you've got in the pipeline, because I've personally really, really enjoyed what you've put out so far.
Thank you so much. Yeah, good luck to you too, Mark. Thank you so much for having us on. Honestly, it's events like this that we prize sort of as an up and coming band. So it's really valuable for us that you've sort of lent us a helping hand, and it's at times like these you think, you know, if ever it does go like as far as we want it to go, it will be these that are the fundamental moments, and so we take our hats off to thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not a problem, an absolute pleasure, and look forward to hearing more from the Sonnet somewhere down the road.
Great.
Yeah.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful night, and good luck. Yeah, thank you, especially like you say, having to take care of your nipper there, but still making time for us. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Yeah. All the best, Mark.
And all that leaves me to say is to thank everyone for tuning in to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you are loving the podcast, show us some love by giving us a rating and written review, as it really does help the artists we interview to be discovered. If you are listening to this episode on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then stay tuned, because at the end of this episode, you'll be able to hear Backstabbing, the brand new single from the Sonnets. Remember, the future is bright, the future is indie, and I'll see you very, very soon for another This Is the Music Meets podcast.